a Dusk main Necrozma Magnezone metal deck. Obviously, the main attacker in this deck is Dusk Necrozma, who has a really strong attack in Meteor Tempest, which is 220. But you discard 3 energy, but it does cost 4 and you have to discard 3. But fortunately, there is a way to cheat by our energy in the play with Magnezone. Also, has Claw Slash for 60 for 3. You can use this against things that are metal weak, as well as basic Zeruas and things like that early on to get cheap prizes. And Sun's Eclipse GX is a really strong option if you're behind, since it does 250, which is enough to one-shot pretty much anything in the format right now, as well as keep all the energy in play that you don't have to discard, which can allow you to flood the field with energy one turn and have multiple attackers set up. Now the way we get all this energy in the play to power up these huge attacks is with Magnezone, whose magnetic circuit lets us attach as many metal energy cards from our hand to our Pokemon. So it has a decent attack. 130 for 4 isn't the best, but it can be used to take a knockout in the pinch, or also soften something up with a non-GX attacker. So the main strategy of this deck is we use Magnezone to accelerate energy onto a bunch of attackers that cost a lot of energy, and then try to stream big attacks and take big knockouts. I like to run the Solid Unit Magnezone just to give me protection from Tapu Kokos, Buzzwoles, and any other kind of bench damage. But the one from, I believe it's Breakthrough, that has the ability that gives it 1 less retreat cost for each Magnemite on your bench, is also really good. I don't like it though because of the fighting weakness, but if the ability could, and I also like having the protection on the bench, but I could see running both in the deck. We also run 1 Dialga GX. Overclock is good against Glaceon and stall decks. Shred is a nice little attack that can help pick off small things, as well as get through things like Hoopa and any kind of stall cards, because it goes through any effects on the opponent's Pokemon. And Timeless GX is a really good GX attack. It may cost 5 energy and only do 150, but lets you take another turn. So if you can take a knockout with Timeless GX, you can then retreat into a Destiny Necrozma and take a knockout on that turn as well, and potentially take 4 prizes if you knock out a 170, 180 HP GX with Timeless with the Choice Band. We also run 1 Prism Star Solgaleo. Prism Stars only let you run 1 in the deck and go to Lost when they get discarded. Radiant Star lets you attach a metal energy for each of your opponent's Pokemon in play, which is really good if you're maybe struggling to find a Magnezone and your opponent takes out your only Magnezone late game. You can Radiant Star to power up an attacker or 2, as well as if you're just trying to set multiple attackers to close out a game. Corona Impact's also a really good attack. For 4 energy, it does 160, 190 with a Choice Band, and you don't even have to discard anything, you just can't attack during the next turn. We run 3 Tapu Lele for the Wonder Tag ability to help increase consistency. We run a 1/1 Octillery to help draw more cards and protect us from late game ends. Because if we get end to 1 late game, that could be really dangerous if we can't find our metal energy. For supporters, we run 4N because it's running a Stage 2 deck. You want to not necessarily have to discard all your cards early on. So shuffling back in is good, as well as disruption cards late game. If you just power up a bunch of attackers and give your opponent a low hand, they may not have the options to deal with it. Run 4 of the new Synthio, which lets you shuffle in and draw 6. This is a really good card for Stage 2 decks, since now you don't have to rely on Sycamore that may have to discard valuable pieces or resources. Run 1 Professor Sycamore just because it's a really good card. Discard your hand, draw 7. Also increases our consistency having an extra draw supporter in the deck. Run 3 Skyla, which lets us grab things like Rare Candy, or 1 Choice Band, which we'll go into later, Mount Coronet, just any trainer we might need, and it gives us tons of flexibility. 3 Bridget to help us get our basics out early. This also increases our odds of starting in our hand. I think between the 3 Bridget, 3 Tapu Lele, and the 4 Ultra Ball, that's 10 outs, which is like an 80% chance of starting turn 1 Bridget, which is really important for this deck. And 3 Guzma help us pick off whatever we want on our opponent's side of the field. Now, as I said before, run 4 of the Rare Candy, help get our Magnezones into play as soon as possible. Run 4 Ultra Ball, help us search out our Pokemon. We run one choice band, as I said, to help Meteor Tempest hit 250, or Timeless GX hit 180, or like Corona Impact hit 190. And Energy Drive is also a really good attack when you can attach as much energy as you want. One Float Stone, since a lot of these Pokemon do have really heavy retreat costs. One Professor's Lair to help maybe play Skylo for it and grab 2 energy out of our deck to help us accelerate a lot of energy. One Field Blower to deal with any pesky Fighting Fury Belts, or maybe a Garb deck if you play it. If you're scared of Garb decks, I would definitely recommend adding in a second or maybe even a third Field Blower. But I am not seeing too many Garb decks in the meta right now, so I feel like I can stick with one. But if you know you're going to play against Garb, you definitely want to up your Field Blower count. Play one Rescue Stretcher because it helps us get Pokemon back into our deck. And if we only play 2 Dusk and Necrozma, but usually it's enough to attack. Let's say we prize one and one gets knocked out, we can use a Rescue Stretcher to pick it back up. Run 4 Mount Coronet or Stadium, which lets us pick up 2 Metal Energy from our discard pile into our hand, which can really helps power up Dusk and Necrozma. So when we attack for 4 and discard 3, it leaves us 1 energy on. We can grab 2 with Mount Coronet, just reattach them, and then we just need to find 1 more energy with our turn. Okay, so that's the deck. So let's take it into a game and see how it runs. Alright, looks like we found a game against Major Failure. Quite an interesting name, and we flipped. Looks like our opponent's going to choose to go first, and they are going to choose to go first. We can't attack on turn 1, so it's definitely a lot better for us if we go first. And this is not necessarily the best hand, but it's not the worst ever either. Looks like we are having a mirror match, unless they are playing the Lightning Magnezone. We'll see after this Bridget what they're playing. Looks like we are playing against another Dusk and Necrozma. This is the Magnemite I was talking about earlier. Now it's in our free retreat because there's another Magnemite. And that may be the better one. I just like running this one better. And we do hit an end, so we can use a turn 1 Bridget. I'm going to get rid of Field Blower and I think Choice Band. Although I'm going to we get rid of Guzma for sure. And maybe Metal Energy, so because Mount Coronet can just bring it right back into play. I don't want to get rid of Choice Band just because if he plays Fighting Fury Belt in this deck, like some lists do, I don't want to hit into a wall, essentially, that we can't, like, you don't want to not knock out a Dusk and Necrozma in 1 hit in the mirror match. As well as the Field Blower can get rid of those Fighting Fury Belts. And Choice Band can also be used with the Alga GX. So we're just gonna start trying to stop our Pokemon. We're gonna grab Mount Coronet and attach to this Bench Lele, I think, or the active, just in case we need to retreat it. Or let's just attach the active for the turn. That can give us a viable attacker if he doesn't knock us out and we don't find a way to attack with a different attacker. So he plays the Ultra Ball. Hopefully he doesn't grab Magnezone with Rare Candy, because if he gets turn 2 Meteor Tempest, this could just be the game if we don't draw something too soon. So hopefully he does get the Octillery. So hopefully he doesn't have Rare Candy Magnezone in his hand already. Nope, he just draws it. And unfortunately, he is going to be able to use our Mount Coronet. Maybe instead of discarding the Metal Energy and using the Mount Coronet, we should have just discarded the Mount Coronet and keeping the Metal Energy in our hands. Slight misstep, but it doesn't look like we're going to be punished for it quite yet. And yet, doesn't even get to use our Mount Coronet. So we're just going to end him here and hope we draw on the cards we can play. We get the Dialga GX. So I don't think I'm going to bench that because I don't think the attack is too good currently. Although with 5 energy I could use Timeless GX for knockout in this Dusk main if I soften it up with this Tapu Lele. So I think that could be a really big swing turn in the game. I think I will just Energy Drive for 80 and say I'll threaten the knockout if he doesn't find a way to knock out this Lele or get this Dusk main out of the active. So he does put a Choice Band down, which means he probably doesn't play Fighting Fury Belt. So play Tapu Lele for Cynthia again. He is going to play the Cynthia. Hopefully he doesn't hit it this turn either. I feel like if he had it, he would just kind of slap it down. And the one thing about this deck is since you're running a stage 2 and you need tons of energy in your hand, and you only have a 1-1 Octillery line, it can get extremely clunky. Looks like he's just going to go for Claw Slash for 90, which is good for us because now he just opened himself up to 1 energy attachment, and we get to take the first knockout, and we don't even have to so I think we could hit the crazy Timeless GX turn this turn if we draw the perfect combo. But I think I'm just going to attach here and guarantee the knockout, and play N and hope to draw on the more pieces. And we hit another just dead hand. I'm going to hold the Float Stone for now since I don't need to play it, and just Energy Drive for knockout and hope that we get something good off our prizes. So Cynthia, Rare Candy. If we could top deck away to get a Magnezone, that would be great because we'd have Rare Candy, Magnezone, 2 Metal Energy, and then Cynthia. Or a Sycamore if we wanted. Hopefully our opponent doesn't get it this turn, because if he doesn't, I think we're in pretty good shape. So he plays the end first this time. The table's the turn, now he's the one playing ends. Now, let's see. With this hand, if he doesn't knock us out here, which using the Mount Coronet means he probably has Rare Candy Magnezone. If he knocks us out here, we can. Oh, I guess he's not going to knock us out. Oh, that Cynthia was a perfect top deck because we'd have a dead hand and not be able to play anything. We'll attach this Dialga since we take the knockout on the Magnemite regardless, and Cynthia and hope to finally hit Rare Candy Magnezone. So we do hit the cards to get Rare Candy Magnezone. But I think instead, I should get Octillery. Try and troll some cards. Because I can get Rare Candy Magnezone, but then what do I have after that? My hand's absolutely dead. It's a little riskier this way, but we do hit Skyless, and next turn we can grab Ultra Ball. And there's no need to mount Coronet this turn. Well, if I mount Coronet this turn, I have a card discard with off the Skylar with Ultra Ball, and I can just re-get it back with Mount Coronet, so I will end up using it. And we'll Energy Drive for another 60. So you can see this deck can get a little clunky at times, but once it gets powered up, it can start to explode. And as soon as you see one of us hits a Magnemite and enough energies, you're gonna see us become. The game's probably gonna turn into. Okay, it's a scoop. To a 220 every turn. And yeah, as you see the power of the deck, even though it's a little clunky, it has the raw power and the tools to just win games just like that. Even without some fancy plays. So that was Duskmane Necrozma Magnezone deck. And wasn't the most flashy game, but you can just see the raw power these cards hold together. And putting down in the comments what deck you want to see next video, and I'll see you next time.